welcome back to the deep dive. We're diving into all these sources you sent about starting a small business in 2025.
Yeah.
Looks like somebody's got the entrepreneurial itch.
That's me.
Let's see what we can dig up from all this info. What jumps out at you?
It's interesting. It's not just the typical start a businesses stuff. It really digs into market demand.
Right. Makes sense with how fast things are changing.
Exactly. And it even gets into scaling up, which I think a lot of people, starting out maybe don't think about right away.
Okay, so big picture stuff first. But this source mentions like 70 business ideas.
Yeah.
No way we can cover every single one, right?
Yeah, no, not in detail.
Okay.
But I think we can do better than just a quick overview. We can look at the trends, break down the examples so you get a framework.
Right.
So you think about any business idea.
I like that. So before we get to the specific ideas, what are some of those like core things that make a business stand out in 2025?
Well, the source talks a lot about meeting market demand, but it's more than just, solving a problem.
Right.
You really have to understand your audience. Like, what are their specific needs? What are their pain points?
Yeah, good point. Just having a good idea isn't enough.
No, you got to know if people actually want it.
Right, exactly.
And then on top of that, the source is big on having a competitive advantage. Like, what makes you stand out?
So let's say I'm really passionate about handmade jewelry. But there are so many people doing that.
Right.
How do I stand out?
That's where knowing your niche comes in. Are you using sustainable materials? Are you targeting a specific style or cultural group?
Oh, okay.
The source actually brings up this company called Dima Knitwear.
Okay.
They sell these physical products, but they also sell digital knitting patterns.
Wow, so smart.
So they kind of hit multiple angles within that same niche.
Yeah, I like that. It's the whole experience you're creating. But so many businesses are online now. What are the things to think about if you're going digital?
Well, the source really dives into dropshipping. Now, it might seem appealing, low startup costs.
Right.
And it also points out some of the potential problems.
Okay.
Like, you got to really vet your suppliers. And just because you're online doesn't mean success is automatic.
It's not as easy as like setting up a website and then just watching the money come in.
No, not quite. It actually features this entrepreneur, Kamil Sattar, who's done really well with dropshipping.
Okay.
And what's interesting is he talks a lot about using platforms like TikTok for marketing to reach more people. He even gives some numbers, like you can aim for 40% to 60% profit margins with dropshipping.
Oh, that's impressive.
Yeah.
But you hear stories about dropshippers struggling with suppliers, like, quality control.
Yeah, and the source addresses that directly. You can't just go with the cheapest option. You have to really do your research.
Yep.
And, building those relationships with suppliers is key. That's how you make sure the quality's there and things are delivered on time.
So dropshipping, it can work, but you got to be smart about it.
Yeah, it's not a get-rich-quick scheme. In fact, a lot of dropshippers, they actually transition to making their own products.
Oh, okay.
They use it as a way to test the market, build a customer base, then they invest in their own inventory.
Makes sense. Less risk that way. But what about people who want to do something more hands-on, like low investment ideas?
Oh, the source has some great ones. Things like freelance work, the gig economy.
Right.
Or using your skills to offer services, tutoring, pet sitting, that kind of thing.
So no matter what you're doing, it's about connecting what you love with what people need.
Exactly. And then there are these unique business ideas that are really taking off in 2025.
Okay, like what? I'm curious.
Well, one that stood out is socially responsible businesses. It's all about making a profit, but also having a positive impact, socially or environmentally.
So, doing good while doing well. Are there any examples of businesses actually pulling this off?
Yeah, there is. This one's called the Give and Grow Donations app.
Okay.
It basically helps businesses build charitable giving into their operations.
I like that.
So it's a win-win for the company and the causes they support.
It definitely shows that you can connect with your audience on a deeper level. What other trends are popping up?
Well, the pet industry is still booming. Tons of room for niche businesses. The source even mentions this company, Perky Prints.
Okay.
They make personalized pet products.
So smart. Playing on that emotional connection people have with their pets.
Yeah.
Seems like there's no shortage of innovative ideas out there.
For sure. And the source even looks at membership programs, virtual event planning, things that are really taking off with all the remote work happening.
So many options. It seems like anyone can start a business these days if they have the right idea and the drive.
Absolutely. And before we jump into more specific ideas, let's just recap what we've talked about. So Success in 2025, it's a mix of market awareness, standing out from the crowd, and truly understanding your audience.
You nailed it. And those ideas apply whether you're online or setting up a physical shop. Speaking of which,
Oh yeah, physical businesses. There are some interesting developments there too.
I'm ready to hear about it. It seems like even with everything going digital, people still want those real-world experiences.
You're absolutely right. And the source actually highlights some pretty creative approaches to traditional businesses.
All right, lead the way. I'm all ears. So, what are some of those physical businesses making waves? I'm curious how they're adapting.
One that caught my eye is these micro retail spaces.
Micro retail.
Yeah, like think curated boutiques, but smaller. They pop up in these unexpected places like co-working spaces or community centers, so it's a different kind of shopping experience.
Interesting. So it's kind of like a blend of online and offline. You get a physical presence, but without committing to a whole storefront.
Exactly, and it's a good way for businesses to test things out. The source actually mentions this place called L Apartment 4F.
Okay.
They started as a home bakery, built a following on Instagram, and they eventually opened a micro retail space inside another boutique.
Clever. So they're leveraging that existing foot traffic. It's like a pop-up, but more permanent.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's coffee shops, but not your average ones.
What do you mean?
It's less about generic cafes and more about these specialized coffee experiences,
Yeah.
single origin beans, artisanal brewing methods, even tasting menus.
So it's all about the experience, the craftsmanship.
Yeah, it fits with that whole artisanal trend. And even something like a stationery store is changing.
Really?
Yeah, people are into handwritten notes, again, personalized stationery. The source mentions this teenager. She actually started a business called Designed by Lay while she was in school.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah.
So even traditional businesses can thrive if they tap into what people want. What about those like essential services, the ones that are always going to be needed?
The source talks about that too, like dog grooming.
Oh, yeah. Makes sense. So many dog owners these days treat them like family.
Exactly. And to stand out, you can specialize in certain breeds or offer mobile grooming, stuff like that.
So again, it's about finding your niche. What other services were mentioned?
Moving services will always be in demand, but the industry is becoming more tech-driven. Online booking, GPS tracking, even virtual consultations. So they're making things more efficient, better for the customer.
Wow, so even physical jobs are being impacted by technology. It really is everywhere.
It is. The source also talks about skilled tradespeople, plumbers, electricians, HVAC. Those are essential services that will always be needed. So it's a stable career path, and there's opportunity to start your own business.
That's a great point. It's not all about trendy products or the latest tech. Sometimes it's about those basic needs that'll always be there.
Exactly. And speaking of meeting needs, the wellness industry's booming. Fitness studios, yoga, massage therapy, nutrition coaching.
It seems like everyone's focused on their health these days.
They are. And the source talks about creating a holistic wellness experience. So it's not just about fitness. It's mindfulness, stress management, building a sense of community.
So it's more than just offering a service. It's about supporting people.
Yeah, helping them reach their goals. And this whole wellness thing, it's not limited to wellness businesses.
Oh.
You see it in workplaces, wellness programs, even coffee shops are offering healthy food, mindfulness workshops.
It's like wellness is a core value that's changing how businesses think.
Absolutely. It's not just a trend, it's a shift in how we live and work. And this brings us to an interesting point the source makes about the way we work. Remote work, freelancing, the gig economy, they're blurring the lines between traditional jobs and entrepreneurship.
That's true.
Yeah.
It seems like so many people are becoming their own bosses, even if it's just on the side.
Yeah, and the source talks about how that 9-to-5 job isn't as appealing to younger generations. They want flexibility, autonomy, they want to follow their passions.
So we're seeing a new type of entrepreneur, someone who's used to working independently, managing their own time.
Exactly. But it's not all sunshine and roses. The source cautions that the gig economy can be tough, unpredictable, not a lot of stability.
Right.
So you have to be good with money, build a diverse client base, and constantly learn new skills to stay competitive.
So freedom and flexibility, yeah, but it comes with challenges too.
For sure. And that brings us to something we haven't really touched on, the emotional side of entrepreneurship.
It's not always talked about, is it?
No, not really. The source emphasizes resilience, self-motivation, being able to handle uncertainty.
Because starting a business is tough. You need more than just a good idea.
You need that mental and emotional strength to get through the tough times. And having a good support network is key.
Oh, yeah. People you can lean on.
Mentors, advisors, other entrepreneurs, they can offer guidance, share their experiences. They can pick you up when you're down.
It's like having a tribe of people who get it.
Exactly. And the source also talks about the practical stuff, using resources and tools that can make things easier.
It's easy to forget about that stuff when you're in the thick of it. Are there any examples?
Yeah, they mentioned SCORE, a nonprofit that offers free mentoring, and online platforms like Shopify. They help you build and manage your online store.
So there's a lot of help out there if you know where to look. We've covered so much. New business ideas, the nitty-gritty of entrepreneurship, even the emotional side of it all. What's your biggest takeaway?
For me, it's how much the world of work is changing. You have to be adaptable, keep learning new things.
That's so true. What you know now might not be enough in a few years. You got to be ready to evolve. Which leads to a question I think a lot of people have. How do you actually go from idea to action?
The source actually lays out a pretty clear path. It starts with validating your idea, then developing a business plan.
So no jumping in head first.
Not exactly. You got to make sure there's actually a need for what you're offering. Do your research, analyze the competition.
Okay, so make sure there's an audience before you go all in.
Right. Once you've done that, you need a solid business plan. This is where you lay out your goals, your target market, how you're going to market it, your financials, the whole 9 yards.
So it's like a roadmap for your business.
Exactly. And the source even breaks down what goes into a good business plan, how to make it compelling, especially if you're looking for investors.
Having a plan is key.
Yeah.
And knowing the market inside and out.
Couldn't agree more. And don't forget about the legal and financial stuff.
Yes. The not-so-fun part.
It's important, though. Choosing the right business structure, understanding taxes, setting up your accounting. You got to make sure your business is legal and can actually survive in the long run.
Those are things that are easy to overlook when you're excited to get started.
Yeah, for sure. The source recommends getting advice from professionals, people who can help you figure out what's best for your specific business.
That makes a lot of sense. This has been so insightful. Starting a business is more than just having a good idea. It's planning, resilience, and knowing where to get help.
You got it. And even though it can be challenging, the source reminds us that it can also be incredibly rewarding, both personally and professionally.
I like that. It's about following your passion, making something meaningful.
Absolutely. And speaking of, the source leaves us with a final thought to consider as we wrap things up.
Oh, really? What is it? Oh, really? What is it?
It says that success in 2025, well, it's not just about the idea itself, or even a perfect business plan.
There's more to it. Now I'm really curious.
It's all about being ready to learn and adapt constantly. Things are changing so fast. Technology, how people shop, the global economy.
Right, what works today might be totally different tomorrow. You got to be on your toes.
Exactly. The source talks about being comfortable with, not knowing everything, having a growth mindset.
So be open to new things and change course if you need to.
Yeah, have a plan B, C, D, you name it. And it really emphasizes staying informed. What's happening in your industry, new technologies, how are people's tastes changing?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Read those industry magazines, go to those conferences.
Exactly. Don't just react to change, try to anticipate it. And that kind of ties into another big thing, networking.
Yes, connections. I can see how that's even more important now.
It is, because starting a business, it can get lonely.
Oh, I bet.
Having people to talk to, mentors, advisors, other people doing the same thing, it can make a world of difference.
Yeah, to bounce ideas off of, get advice, celebrate the wins together.
Exactly. You need people who get it, And the source talks about different ways to find those people.
Very quiet.
Industry events, conferences, places where you can meet face-to-face. Online, too, LinkedIn, those industry forums.
Oh, right. Makes sense.
And don't be afraid to just reach out to people you admire, see if they'll chat with you, even just a quick virtual coffee.
Good point. Got to be proactive. But it's not just about taking.
Right. No, absolutely not. You have to give back too. Share your knowledge, help other entrepreneurs.
Be a good member of the community.
Yeah.
This has been an amazing deep dive. We've talked about so many different businesses, the ups and downs of entrepreneurship, what it takes to make it in 2025. And like you said, it really comes down to staying curious, being adaptable, and building those connections.
You got it. And remember, there are so many possibilities out there. If you put in the work, embrace those challenges, find your people, you can do anything.
Love that. Thanks for joining me on this journey. And for everyone listening, keep those ideas coming and don't be afraid to reach out to your network for support. Until next time, happy entrepreneuring.